Hi, I'm Mitch Gallagher from Sweetwater. Thanks for joining us today. We've got a special guest with us, and we got some cool stuff to check out. This is George Horton, Vice President at SSL. It's great to have you here.
Thank you for having us, Mitch. I'm very excited to be here, to be honest with you.
Likewise, indeed. We're excited to have you here because we're going to be talking about live sound consoles and SSL. And I think the easy thing to do is just, what does this console not do? Is there anything that it doesn't do?
Well, that's a tough question. You start with a really hard question. What doesn't it do? I can tell you what it does do. I'm a very positive.
Seriously, it's an amazing console. And I think, though, for many people, they think SSL, they think studio consoles. Lately, we think audio interfaces, we think plugins, all those kind of things.
Yeah.
But SSL has a huge presence in the live sound world as well.
Absolutely. It's something we started in 2013, where Peter Gabriel bought, as you may know, Peter Gabriel bought SSL back in 2005. And as well as being a significant studio artist, he was also a touring artist. And he said, we should make a live console. But it's not as simple as taking a music console and just putting a flight case on it, right, or taking a broadcast console and doing the same thing. It's about some fundamental workflows to the live sound that need to be right. We also took advantage of technology, and we have a very smart man called Dr. Enrique Perez, who is our Chief Technology Officer and our General Manager now. And he and his team came up with something we call Tempest, which is a low-level multi-core processor. And that's the key to this console, in that it has immense flexibility. It has the ability to be reconfigured on the fly, and it can be a front-of-house console, it can be a live console, it can be a monitor console.
Right. And I think the one thing that we just want to really talk about up front is you've brought all the sound quality that SSL is famous for to the live sound world as well. I mean, it really is. I mean, the list of artists you were telling me about that are using this console, the quality of the sound they're getting is just phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean, it's the sort of significant players in the touring market are using this console. We were out with Lizzo, we're out with Sam Smith or Justin Bieber, or when he's out touring, of course. Sure. Bruno Mars, the Eagles, people like this they choose to use solid state logic. It's hard to express on video how good this console sounds. Mm-hmm. And we look forward to, with working with Sweetwater, to allow more people to hear it.
Right.
Doing demos, bringing consoles to people. You've really got to hear this console because it uses the SSL super analog circuitry, the same circuitry you use in our big consoles, in our interfaces, in our rack mount equipment. So it's high bandwidth, low noise, negligible phase shift.
Right.
It is the only true 64-bit processing console on the market. As standard, it's 96 kilohertz. So what you put in through a super analog mic pre is what you hear in the console. It sounds spectacular. It allows the engineers to produce a much wider, deeper mix. It gives them more space to place their talent. And it's honestly a pleasurable process. People are engineering for the sake of, improving things, not fixing things so much.
Right.
Obviously, people need to fix things from time to time,
Of course.
So the sensibilities of what we know from music have absolutely been brought into that. For example, right now I've got the SSL G bus compressor. The algorithm for that is running on my master bus. In our effects rack, we have over 60 different effects. That includes things like the G-Bus compressor, things like we recently announced as a plugin, like the Blitzer, things like that. They all exist in this. We are, I think, probably, and I could be corrected on this, the only console company who takes our algorithms and sells them as standalone products. They're that good. And so part of those elements are what make this just an amazing sounding console.
Right. Well, let's take a closer look. There are several models of console, correct?
Correct, yes.
And so which one are we looking at here?
Okay, so this is the L350 Plus, and we have 6 models, and Sweetwater are going to be helping us with all of these models. We believe that the way they differ is not in quality, but in scale. And I think that's a really important factor on this. It's about sort of small, medium, large, like the smallest console, which isn't that small, if I'm being honest with you, but it's still an SSL at the end of the day. The smallest console has exactly the same fader tile, the same software as the biggest console, which is out with Bruno Mars or whatever it happens to be. We have the same library of effects. There are 60 different effects built into this console. So it's really about the scaling of things. So the smallest is the L100 Plus, which is a 12 fader console. But it has layers and banks. All of these have up to 6 layers, each fader tile with 5 banks. So I can switch between different aspects of my show. And part of the flexible structure is I can lay out anything I like, anywhere I like, as many times as I like. So L100 is a single fader tile. single screen master section. The L200 is 36 faders. This is the L350. So this is kind of the middle of the range. I really like this console because it sort of showcases everything. It's I could be like marketing speak, compact powerhouse. Sort of thing. It's a lot of processing. It's a lot of console in a good size footprint.
Mm-hmm.
From there, we got the new L450, which is a 36 fader console. We've got the L550 Plus, which is probably the most popular touring console at the very high end of things. And again, the now new L650, which is a 36 fader, 318 path console with up to 600 I/O potential. So you can get pretty crazy.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. That is insane. There's so much going on, but as I've looked at this console and sort of dug a little deeper with it, it's all very accessible.
Yes.
And you have a very large touch screen here. You have a smaller touch screen, lots of controls. Yes. And as you mentioned, anything can be mapped anywhere. The fader can basically control any parameter for anything.
Absolutely. It could be channels. It could be auxes. It could even be DAW. We even have the Huey controller built into the console. So, a common example might be in a house of worship where they would have a front of house console, a monitor console, and a console for broadcast, which is only maybe getting used on a Sunday and special events. During the week, they can then use that console for post-production duties. They can use it for remixing the pastor's speech or the Christmas message or things like that. So there are the ability to lay out any of those things on the surface is part of it. I mean, as we know, live sound is fast and furious.
Right.
You don't have time. You don't get a second take. You've just got to do it. You've got the audience around you. Terrifying, absolutely terrifying. I get scared every time I go to a live show. But so this is a very visual console. This is a sort of like a sort of low-level fundamental thing. It was designed around a touchscreen. Some consoles, in previous generations, have a screen, which then you have a mouse or a trackball. This is designed so that my fingers can hit buttons easily and quickly.
Mm-hmm.
It's very bright. We're in a studio. We've got lots of lights around us. The screen is 1,500 nits.
Easily visible.
Which if you're in a festival situation, you can be in direct sunlight and you can still read the touchscreen.
Right.
We use color. So I know that green is an input channel. So I can very quickly glance at things and say, green things, input channels. Pink things are auxes, red things are master buses, yellows are matrix. We have color coding. We also have images we call iconics. So that there are little pictures.
Yep.
Because our eye recognizes image faster than reads a word. So I don't know how many times you go to a console and someone's done little drawings of like a drum or something like that, because they see it much quicker.
Sure.
So even though this console has huge flexibility, that Tempest engine we talked about, which can build many configurations, you build a template, it's a very obvious console. It's very visual to see what is going on. So, I do have all that ability here.
Right. The other thing about this console that jumped out at me is, as you mentioned, 60 different effects types here. You've got basically the center section where you can have the bus compressor. You've got dynamics. You've got EQ, everything on each channel.
Yeah.
It really is a self-contained solution. There's no need to have much outboard,
absolutely,
if any,
yeah,
with this console.
That's a very good point. The console is completely self-contained. All the processing, that Tempest engine we talked about, is built into this frame. The front panel processor, the control software, is built into this frame. There is on the back panel a lot of I/O. We have mic line inputs, 16 on this console, mic line in, 16 analog out, 4 AES. But we have 9 MADI ports. We have concentrated fiber ports with 256 channels of audio, and also Dante. We also support Dante. We're a big partner to Ordinate. So this has the Dante API, the controller built into the console. So as an operator, I can route any Dante sources, any Dante destinations directly from this console.
Right.
I don't need to go into Ordinate controller to do those things. It means that all of that routing is saved as part of my show file. So I come into my console, I turn it on, I load whatever that show file is, it builds all my routes. I plug in Dante stage boxes, they automatically remake the routes. You have multiple consoles. It then also organizes who owns which things. So only one person has the phantom power, for example. Only one person can route an output, and the consoles manage that between themselves.
Brilliant.
What were your things? There's some smart people back in Oxford. Yeah. Not me.
Well, clearly, though, but clearly there's a number of important things that you touched on there. One is that you have both local I/O in the console.
Yes.
You have the option of stage boxes and, as you mentioned, Dante and all of the different options there. You also have that ability to basically integrate this into an entire system, as opposed to, okay, this is just this.
No, and we do live in a connected world now. Everything is a network, as we know. And so, we support MADI for sort of traditional style of interconnection of things. So there's a lot of MADI on this. Dante for us is a big part of our world, and we can build massive networks. We don't have limits within our system. I believe my biggest client, who shall remain nameless for the moment, has 18,000 Dante I/O on their network with 11 consoles. It's a lot. You should see it. It's insane. It's terrifying, in fact, but it's good. But
the fact that you can manage that,
yes, absolutely,
is really incredible.
Absolutely, there isn't a limitation. The limitation is purely the design of your network and the switches you use and the bandwidths within that system.
Right.
So we can get very large, but maintain. There is a part of within the console as an engineer, you've got to be able to manage potentially big shows, or even small shows, any shows. We have a bit part of our architecture, which we call stems, which I think is a very unique feature of this console. Stems are audio subgroups. They're like AUXs on steroids. They are variable groups. I can mix into stems like an AUX. I have variable gain. I can pick it off anywhere in the path. And it allows me to build subgrouping within my system. It's sort of taking that elephant, that big show, and breaking it down into smaller pieces, which I can then redistribute like a matrix. Like, I can build a drum sub, and then I can do auxiliary sends from that. So I can send, someone says, hey, I'd like some drums in my in-ear. I just turn up the aux send on the stem. I don't have to go to kick, snare, hi-hat, tom, and turn them all up. Makes things very fast, very visual. You can also ISO record them. You can compress them. You can process them differently. So even on a console this size, which is physically 24 plus 2 faders, you could manage a very large show. This is a 218 path console. And so I could have, 128 input show with 128 or 100 output buses, So it can be very large and very easy to manage, shall we say.
Yeah, and that's such a big thing when you have that many inputs and outputs that you're dealing with. You have features here like spill that allow you to group a bunch of things under a single fader, but still open them up and access them when you need to. Yeah. And again, all of the things that you brought from the studio world as well, the automation, the VHD technology, as you mentioned, the super analog technology as well. You've incorporated a lot of that into this board.
Absolutely. And we know where we came from. We know the history. We know our legacy. And people expect a certain quality of sound from solid state logic. And so, like I said, we have things like the G-Bus compressor as part of that. The sound of more hit records you can shake a stick at, honestly. Right. As you said, Listen Mic compressor, which has a great story that some of us know and some of us, which goes back to the earliest days of Townhouse in London and Steve Lillywhite. So we have the Listen Mic compressor in the effects rack. Variable harmonic drive, adding harmonic distortion in a pleasing and pleasant way, that exists. But when we came out with the live console, we did bring a lot of innovation. Like this ability to do stems and things, which no one else had done. Things that we had learned that worked in a studio setting or worked in a broadcast setting. We had the opportunity for a ground up to bring all these things together. And it does make for, I'd like to say fun experience.
Right. Well, it's just fun to stand in front of it. There's so many flashing lights and all the different colors.
Exactly.
How could I not have fun?
Exactly.
This is really awesome. Yeah, it really is awesome. And it does feel like if you're familiar with consoles, that you could step up and get to work. I mean, it's familiar to you.
I think so too. I think I could give someone who's an audio engineer, give me half an hour with them, and I could have them mixing a show. Just to show them some of the basics, some of the little tricks and techniques and where things are, they would be up and running in no time at all. Which I think is important, like particularly when we work with houses of worship and things, we have volunteers and things. They need it to be a user-friendly experience.
Right.
And so, we can build, the main engineers can build the templates, for whatever setting it may be. But then someone can come up and go, oh, look, that's the kick drum. I push that up, I've got kick drum. It's not harder than that at the end of the day.
Right.
And so yes, there are other tools we have in it, like Dialogue Auto Mix. That exists in the console. You want to, you have a panel discussion, you have a workshop or something, you have a studio setting where people are talking, you can auto mix between the microphones, so the console will manage that for you. Mm-hmm. So there are a lot of sort of powerful tools that allow people to do these things.
Right.
So,
Well, we are super excited to now have Solid State Logic live be part of the Sweetwater family as well. We've had a partnership with SSL for years, of course, with the consoles, the interfaces, as I mentioned, the outboard gear,
Absolutely.
all those kind of things. But this is a new partnership with Sweetwater. Our sales engineers are already getting up to speed.
I've spent the last 2 days working with your engineers, and honestly, they're impressive individuals, shall we say. They're smart people. They ask great questions, and for us, we couldn't ask more from a partner. We want to work with the smartest, best people who care, who actually really have a passion for audio. All SSL does is audio. All I've done for 34 years is audio with SSL. That's what we really care about. Quality of it, the workflows, the support of people. And so to have a partner like Sweetwater with all the organization and the skills that you bring is really important to us. We don't take that lightly in any way, shape, or form.
Right. Well, thank you. Well, part of what the sales engineers are doing and that you're working with them on is they're actually certified on this console. What does that mean?
Well, it means like having a fire hose of information and shooting it at them, then answering all their questions. There are levels. There is a lot of information to bring. Your sales engineers need to be a proxy of what I know in some regards. I'm always available to them, and the rest of our team is always available to everyone here. And so we are here to train everyone and be available to them all the time. We do a lot of online resources as well for people as well. They're available. There's videos. There's the offline software you can run on your PC. It's free of charge. People could download it. So we will give everyone the tools to be able to be a power user. And that's our goal in the end of the day.
Right. And that accessibility means a lot because a console like this, there's a lot to it. And you need to integrate it into your system. And there's everything that goes around with the whole rest of the rig that you're working on. And a sales engineer being able to access you and your team as a resource as they're helping a customer design their system and integrate all this is just a huge thing.
It is a design process because there are options of MADI, there are options of Dante, there's the type of console, there's the layout, the networks and things like that. And so we work very collaboratively with the sales engineers and with the clients to help build these systems which are custom to what they need. It's not just any old box, it's got to fit what they need to achieve and what goals they're looking for. And so that makes it a very personal, interactive process.
Right.
And the thing I've noticed with work with all your folks is that they are just great at communication. And I think communication is the key, and being fast and responsive and working with people. That's how it should be.
Sure.
It makes my life a lot easier.
For everyone. For everyone is that way. Yeah, there are so many options. I mean, even options that don't seem that significant. Things like you can mount a monitor on one side or the other, or you can integrate those types of things, or a laptop stand, or, do you want that? Do you want a monitor? Do you not need that?
Yeah.
All of those kind of things factor into the final result that you get.
Absolutely. Do you need flight cases or do you need wooden crates? Do there's a whole bunch of things, a load of questions we ask and work with people. And for me, that's the great fun of the job. I think it is coming up with something that fixes solutions, comes up with solutions. I think that's what makes it so exciting at times.
Absolutely.
Well,
Absolutely. You touched on it there with flight cases, but one last thing I want to talk about with these consoles is they're designed for the road. These are steel chassis. They are meant to go out and be on the road.
Oh, absolutely. For SSL, we believe in quality components and things that are designed to last for a very long time. People are investing, they're putting good money into systems. They need to know it's going to stand up to, let's face it, touring, the rigors of the road. Touring is rough at times. So the chassis is a stainless steel monocoque chassis. The touch screens we use are industrial grade touch screens. The CPU technology is industrial server grade CPUs and things. It is the highest end quality stuff because, we don't want anything to go wrong.
Right.
We need our clients to be happy and confident. They are, the other thing is, they're never working at normal times. It's always like the middle of the night or a weekend or things like that. We're available 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. No question about it because, we know how the world works.
Right.
But equally, we don't want to be woken up in the middle of the night, so we make sure it works.
That's much easier, isn't it?
Yeah, much easier that way.
But George, thank you so much for coming in and sharing, your incredible experience and knowledge of the live sound world and these consoles in particular. And we're just so excited to be partnering with Solid State Logic on these live consoles.
Well, it goes both ways. We're very happy. We're looking forward to working with everyone. And we will be doing more live training. We'll be working with you guys to help train your engineers, to train your clients and all of the people in the field. We wish to share our knowledge. That is what we're here for.
Right. Wonderful. Thanks again. It's great to see you.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you, sir.
Pleasure's all mine. Thank you.
Thank you.
You definitely want to check these consoles out. They are phenomenal. And the best resource for that is to give your sales engineer a call. They'll be happy to talk with you about all the different options, the different formats, the different sizes of consoles. Visit sweetwater.com. We'll be happy to help you out. I'm Mitch Gallagher from Sweetwater.